Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nate Crosby, your host for today and forever, and welcome back to another episode of the Lawyers in the Making podcast, where it is my job to focus on the unique journeys to the law and law school of professionals in the legal field and law students. But let's talk about what we're doing today, because today we have another spectacular guest. She's a Thomas Jefferson School of Law graduate and currently works as an attorney at Dracup and Patterson and as a chief product officer at Tempello. She has held past positions as an associate attorney at Moore, Schulman, and Moore, and as a volunteer law clerk at the Legal Aid Society of San Diego. Excited to have her on the podcast today, Mrs. Brittany Dracup. Welcome to the podcast. How are we doing today? Before going any further, I'd like to say a quick word about the sponsor of this podcast, Rhetoric. Back in episode 25, I had the privilege of having the CEO, Luke Yingling, on the podcast, and ever since that episode, fell in love with the product. Rhetoric takes user briefs and motions and compares them against the text of opinions written by judges to identify ways to tailor their arguments to better persuade the judges handling their cases. Rhetoric's focus on persuasion and helps users find new ways to improve their odds of success through more persuasive arguments. Know more, win more. I was able to see a demo of the product, and its cutting-edge technology and fascinating features make for a product I am proud to sponsor, and further shows the new digital era the field of law has been entering thus far on my journey doing this podcast. If you decide to book a demo, let them know Nate sent you. Be sure to check them out in the show notes below or at userhetoric.com. One word, userhetoric.com. Now, back to the show.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Brittany, I'm so glad to have you here today because we could get into your wonderful, illustrious journey to the law and law school, as we always do every episode. But Brittany, before we get started, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. I'm Brittany Dracup, and I am a family law attorney. I opened up a family law division under my father's firm name. So Dracup and Patterson, that's my dad's firm. And he pushed me to go out on my own a little over 2 years ago. And I mean, he'd been pushing me to do that for a while, but yeah. So I practice family law. I've been practicing family law since I left law school, and my aunt's a family law attorney. But yeah, I'm from California, born and bred from here in Southern California, and law is kind of in my blood. We have a lot of attorneys in my family. My father's an attorney, my mother's an attorney, my aunt is an attorney. My grandfather was a judge, so I worked for my aunt. She's a family law attorney since I was 15 years old. She's an attorney up in LA, and I was pretty enchanted by the fact that she was representing these celebrities. I thought she was in like kind of the entertainment realm, and I came to find out that she was just a divorce lawyer. It's the great equalizer, divorce. So yeah, I think I've found that when you practice family law, or you get a job in family law, and you kind of pigeonhole yourself in that area, which is, for better or for worse, I ended up, and then I went to law school, and I thought to myself, well, maybe I want to try something else other than family law, and ended up just doing family law. I I worked with the California Innocence Project during law school, worked with Legal Aid during law school in their housing clinic, and so did some like civil restraining orders there as well. I worked also in the small business clinic. My dad does corporate stuff, and I thought maybe that was interesting. But ultimately, what I found from the small business clinic was that I am interested in business, but more so on the side of me owning my own business, operating my own business. And so, going out on my own has been the best thing that I ever did for myself. Number one, because it allowed me to work less and make the same, if not more money. I can pick and choose my clients, which is crucial, at least in family law. You can have a highly contentious case, or you can have an amicable case, and you're getting paid the same hourly rate for either case. And I prefer the amicable parties. So I guess that's a little bit I just kind of hit the ground running with that, but
Well, we now have to go all the way back. And I just have to say, love to hear that you're born and bred from Southern California. I believe that is where I need to go and stay for the rest of my life. It's the most beautiful place in the world. I saw a map the other day. It had all the temperatures in the worldwide temperatures. And they say, what's the perfect weather? Usually 60 to 75 degrees. And 300 plus days out of the year, Southern California is 60 to 75 degrees. I'm currently convincing my entire family we all need to move to Southern California. I will see if I can make it happen. I'm very good at convincing people. Hopefully, I can convince my parents and everyone else in my family we all need to go to Southern California. One day I'll make the dream happen. But you were at the University of San Francisco from 2008 to 2012. You graduated in 2012. And then 2 years later, you would end up at Thomas Jefferson School of Law. Now, in between there, you had some legal assistant jobs. You were a file clerk at, I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, but Steyer, Lowenthal, Brucus, Alvarez, Smith. You were there for a year. You were a legal assistant at Joy Stanley Law Corporation. Then you were a legal assistant and office manager at the law offices of Scott Amos. And then you were a legal assistant, paralegal at the law offices of Patricia Van Herren. Now, my question with all the first, I'll ask, how were those experiences and how valuable was it to get those experiences prior to law school?
Well, for whatever reason, I guess, the experiences were great. So Joy Stanley is my aunt. She's, and then Scott Ames, he did employment law. He was awesome, great employer, super cool guy. Steyer, Lowenthal, Bodericus, Alvarez, and Smith. That was a big firm that I worked for in college. And so that was fun to see kind of how the big firms operate a little bit. Very, big deal. And so I was only a file clerk there, but the other places that I worked were smaller shops, and I have a small shop myself. What's interesting is that I never really, even though I was working for law firms my entire life, I don't think you can really understand what it's like to be a lawyer until you're a lawyer. That has been my experience. For whatever reason, I must have missed something, but once I became a lawyer, I was like, oh, this is, I don't know. It's the learning curve is immense. And so, when you're a file clerk or a legal assistant, you get that muscle memory going. It's easy to get good at that job, right? There's just templates. It's pretty easy to get good at that job. And so that's why I continue to think, okay, this is like, I can handle this. I got this. But when you're a lawyer, it's especially in family law. I think family law is the kitchen sink of law. And so I don't know if the learning ever ends. I don't know if you ever feel like you know what you're doing in family law, because there's just so much overlap, criminal overlap, dealing with just every single thing that somebody has really touched throughout their marriage. You're having to divide. So custody and visitation, property, all kinds of, property is just a black hole in and of itself. You've got it could range from royalties to investment accounts, retirement accounts, pensions, RSUs. I mean, it never ends. And I, for one, didn't go to law school expecting to deal with with so many numbers, you know? And so what I've found is, yeah, my experience, honestly, in my experience, it didn't, my history in the legal field before I went to law school and became an attorney did not prepare me for the job, really.
Well, that's a fine answer as well, because it's just putting that all important message that you can get as much experience as you want as maybe, the legal assistant or the office manager as a paralegal, but you won't really know, like you said, till you're really a lawyer, till you're really in those shoes and you're really doing the thing. But let's go to the first year of law school. You were at Thomas Jefferson School of Law. We always love talking about the first year of law school. Some people hate it, some people love it. I got the receipts, don't worry. But what was the first year like for you, Brittany?
The first year for me was really exciting because, I'd finally gotten there. Becoming a lawyer was a dream of mine for a long time. And so, I was excited and getting to meet new people and living in downtown San Diego was super fun. And I do enjoy, the schedule was great, being a law student. For me, I've never been a good student. So um, I hear people saying that their first year of law school was a grind. And for me, I mean, yes and no. I kind of just skated by a little bit, but to be totally honest. So it wasn't overwhelming, but um, I had a good time. I was excited to be there.
Now, of course, we appreciate your honesty that you did just skate by, as I do sometimes in college. Most times, nowadays especially, I'm certainly skating by. There's a lot of chat GB. Don't tell my professors, please. But as
Oh
you
yeah, that's one thing I didn't have in law school. It's ChatGPT. You guys are so lucky. You are so lucky.
I would say I would actually agree with that we are very, very lucky. Just the other day, I was creating study guides in like 5 seconds. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I know, I don't mean to make you jealous.
I would have had much better grades.
Now, throughout your time in law school, you were a volunteer law clerk at the Legal Aid Society of San Diego. You're actually there twice. You were there from 2014 to 2016, and then you came back towards the end of your law school career. Now, of course, you were recognized for an outstanding service award. You had 100 hours of pro bono legal services at the Legal Aid Society of San Diego. Now, in particular, why did you choose to go to the Legal Aid Society of San Diego, and what entailed with that job in doing that position?
I chose legal aid because, it's kind of a big name. Everybody knows legal aid. I wanted to do some pro bono work and I got an in there. I don't remember exactly how, but I don't know. Nothing major to it. I just picked them and so what we did was work on unlawful detainers. So if people were being evicted from their homes or apartments, we would work with them and, help to enforce their rights. So we were kind of on the front lines of people struggling with like homelessness. There were, it's definitely, it's low income people coming through the door. And it was cool. I really enjoyed uh, working with the people. We were at the courthouse, located at the courthouse on the second floor, and um, the people that I worked with, my colleagues were a lot of fun, and then the kind of the clients were interesting as well. I just really enjoyed kind of feeling like I was helping people out.
Now, we always love talking about the human aspect of law. 'Cause you go through law school, you read all these case briefs, you got to go to the library, you got to pull out all these pieces of paper, you got to look all this stuff up. But there's not much talk about the actual human beings that are a part of these cases. So, throughout your time at the Legal Aid Society of San Diego, as well as the California Innocence Project, you were there for a summer. But how important And how crucial was that human aspect of law, being able to see the real human beings behind all these court cases, behind all these cases that you read in law school? How crucial was that for you to understand that human aspect?
How crucial was it for me to understand the human aspect? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty good with people, but it definitely. I mean, I can't push papers all day. That's, I was kind of why I also stepped away from the like corporate. I don't do transactional stuff. My eyes just kind of glaze over when I'm like reading a contract. It's I really enjoy working with people for the most part. You do see the uglier side of people in family law for sure, but when I'm just purely the white knight coming in, helping somebody when they're being evicted, that's always a good time for me. It's just kind of a win-win situation.
So, in discovering this love for family law, of course, as you got out of law school, you were a law clerk at Moore, Schulman, and Moore, and then became an associate attorney at Moore, Schulman, and Moore. You were there for 4 years. Now, in finding this love for family law, we all always love talking about the significance of finding what you want to do with the law. It's very, very important, very, very important. But especially finding out what you don't want to do with the law. Just like you said, your eyes begin to glaze over as you read the 1,000th contract of your life. So, what sorts of things did you do to figure out what you really wanted to do with the law, with family law, and what were some ways that you found out, okay, maybe this isn't for me?
Yeah. So now we're getting to the reality of the situation. So, family law is great because I'm working directly with the clients, and that can be a pleasure sometimes, and then other times not so much. But luckily for me, now that I work for myself, if the personalities clash, I can initiate that we go our separate ways. It doesn't happen quite often. A lot of times, I understand that the client is having just a difficult time. I mean, going through a divorce is brutal, but and so, there are rough times, but yeah, it's so family law I enjoy because I feel like there can be instant gratification. There are some pretty powerful tools in family law that allow me to get justice for my client. But when I'm running into those cases where it's going on for, moving into like 2, 3 years, and there's no, it's just a he said, she said, and these two just cannot agree on anything, that's when it gets really tiresome. And, and then sometimes the attorneys will add fuel to the fire, which I also don't really appreciate. I have found through, like finally becoming an attorney that I really don't like going to court. I don't think it's fun. I don't like having to put on a suit and driving downtown, paying $30 for parking. It's, I'm not into it. I like talking to people. There is this like counseling aspect. So I'm dealing with real life situations that I can kind of relate to, and that's fun. And when I can help somebody who's really in need, I really love that. But if these two just can't, if they're just fighting just to fight, I don't like those types of cases. And so also with family law, there's just it's a lot. I mean, I don't know about other areas of law, but it's just litigation in general is there's just constant moving targets. And so you're having to pay attention to that all the time. And then also the influx of information that you're getting from your clients, from the other side, things that you're having to keep tabs on, that it's can be overwhelming. Um, And so you have to be extremely organized to not just become totally stressed out and overwhelmed. But other than that, it's been really easy to go out on my own in family law. So I really appreciate that. There's no lack of work. It's definitely something that's wonderful to fall back on at any time. You can kind of pick it up um, at any point. And I mentioned that because, I've been kind of moving into another role, that chief product officer role. And so, law and going out on my own has allowed me to work on other things. And truthfully, hopefully I will be moving out of law completely. That's the goal.
Oh, now we're getting interesting, Brittany. I'd love to
Yes.
see that. So first, let's start at hanging your own shingle. You became an attorney at Dracup and Patterson. That is your father's firm, but you had your own little department, family law department, a part of that. Now, can you talk about hanging your own shingle? Sometimes, most of the time actually, most guests comes on here, they talk about the struggles, starting out on your own, how was hanging your own shingle, and what are some struggles, if there were any, that you had to go through in order to really get the gears going on starting your own thing?
I was very lucky. It was kind of a turnkey situation, because my dad had all the infrastructure already built in. So I just was, using his office manager briefly. He's got somebody that he uses to find people to hire. He's got a bookkeeper. He's got a legal management software system that he uses. So I just kind of waltzed in um, and and started working. We don't really interact too much on the legal side because he doesn't know anything about family law and I don't know anything about corporate law. So that kind of bodes well. um, and and so yeah, in the beginning I was using his office manager, but now um, I have my own paralegal. I still use his bookkeeper and I still use his practice management system. So I'm still kind of receiving those benefits. But um, yeah, going out on my own was, like I said, in my opinion, it's pretty easy to do in family law. I had previous clients that I worked with at the other firms, and they would either refer me new business or chose to go with me, and so that was really cool. I haven't really done much in the way of marketing for family law. It's all just kind of been word of mouth. Um, and yeah, so the first, when I went out on my own, I wasn't expecting, I just told myself, you know what, you're just going to learn how to run a law firm. Don't worry about making a ton of money in the first year. Just kind of just try to keep your head above water because it can be, so now I'm practicing law and I'm doing the business aspect of it. So it's like two jobs. I've never, previously never had to worry about getting paid by the client. That was not a concern of mine. So that's a whole new deal. And and I think I did well. I mean, my first case was wild. I had a crazy first ever case out the gate. It was nuts. It was making me, I would wake up in the middle of the night, like sweating, dreaming about this horrible, horrible case that landed in my lap. But, and so, learning, continuing to learn the law of, family law, the substantive stuff, and then also learning the business side of it. And that just also includes like learning how to interview potential clients and gather whether this case or this person is going to end up being a problem because yeah, like I said, I I don't like the litigious cases. And that's what's tricky about family laws. People will walk through your door and say, oh, we're amicable. Everything's, this should be easy. And they try to negotiate down the retainer. And then, next thing you know, it's like, we're getting restraining orders, dueling restraining orders. And, they're moving out, they're abducting the child. They're going out of state. We need to get, we need to go in ex parte, like, real quick. So just learning how to kind of get a sense, getting more, just being more thorough with the client interviews and understanding like they're not interviewing me, I'm interviewing them.
So with all, it's a very hectic environment, of course, in the family law, like you said, people abducting children, not great, it's not the best. But how do you disconnect yourself from all these crazy moments in family law that can happen and have happened clearly in your experience? How do you sort of disengage yourself from those things, not get so emotionally, attached to those kind of cases? How do you do that?
I mean, I'm still learning about that, but I don't know. Yeah, I have one case right now, and I'll have, anytime I get some bad news from the other side, I have to relay it to the client. He flies off the handle and kind of he'll start emailing me, and I can tell he's frustrated and I just ignore. I just ignore it. I just let him kind of cool off for a little bit. I don't engage. And then sure enough, like a day or two later, I'll get an email from him and he'll say, I really appreciate you ignoring me, when I'm in that state because and then he's like, I'm so sorry. I feel like, you know, I can't imagine what you deal with. But I think you just kind of get used to it. But um, yeah, and understanding that this is not life or death. Luckily, in family law, a lot of things are, at least the things that really matter, like custody and visitation, that stuff is almost always modifiable. So I like to tell my clients, nothing is set in stone. Like, yes, we may have gotten these orders now, but you can always go modify in the future. So it's just a long game. And the financial stuff, that's obviously more set in stone. Mostly, I mean, division of assets, but a lot of that is very straightforward. And for the most part, I will have the client hire forensic accountants to deal with that. And that way I'm kind of just taking a back seat on that front. But yeah, I mean, luckily the law is pretty cut and dry for a lot of things. And then if a client decides to go to trial on certain matters that are not as cut and dry, then I'll just send them somewhere else.
So now I want to get into the real meat and potatoes here because you said something before, and now I want to hear more about it, that you're looking to move out of the law and move towards your position right now as the Chief Product Officer of Tempello. Now, can you tell us what Tempello is and what you do as the Chief Product Officer?
Okay, yeah. So Tempello is actually why I kind of know Matt a little bit. It's a legal tech software that we integrate with Clio, and so we connect the attorney's email to Clio so that for every email that's sent or received, it automatically generates a time entry and categorizes it to the appropriate matter, saves the body of the email in Clio, and that way, basically, when you're working, you don't have to stop what you're doing and go make that time entry. And so as the Chief Product Officer, I don't know, I'm a co-founder of the company. So we kind of it's a family run business. My dad is the CEO. My brother is the Chief Operating Officer. And then I'm kind of CPO, but they just threw that C-level role at me because initially I was the alpha tester of the product. My dad developed the prototype for in-house use. And I'm the one who, my dad has been practicing law for 30, maybe 40 years, long time. And he doesn't really practice anymore. He more so manages attorneys. And so he's not creating time entries. He hasn't done that for a long time, I feel like. And so um, I was really the one who was getting down to the nitty gritty with that software and really using it and able to see, how beneficial it was.
See, I'm interested because I love a family business. I don't own a family business, but my father does own a process serving company. So I am a process server in my free time. Oh, same with my brothers. My oldest brother Nick works in the office. My other brother Chris serves papers all over New York City. Poor him. Oh,
Wow.
and I get the sweet cushy job in Albany. But I have served papers on Long Island as well. So I understand the family business and the way that it goes. Now, I'm interested how the discussion went when your dad came to the table and he's like, "Listen, I'm looking to make this company. You guys in?" But what was that like?
Well, so this is what happened. I went out on my own, and then like maybe a month, just maybe a few months later, my dad said, I want you to start using this software that we're using. And what's funny is that I never had issues saving my time. I was in fact known at Moore Shulman and Moore for how meticulous like my time entries were. And so I had a reputation at that office. And so when my dad came to me and asked me to use the software, I was like, I don't have a problem with this, so I don't need the software. And he begged me to use it, and so reluctantly I did. And initially it was kind of scary, just because I don't know, it's almost like kind of like a self-driving car. It's like it's freaky. Some like giving up control over something that you're just so used to having 100% control over. And obviously there's no life or death risk with the timekeeping, but that's how scary it was for me in the beginning. Like I look up and I'm looking at my bills and I'm just like, oh my God, what is this? And so there was a little bit of a learning curve with the software, but then I started to get used to it. And next thing I know, I look up and I'm like, I will never practice law without this software, period. And so once I started realizing that and expressing that, um, we decided, my dad was like, oh, well, if Brittany really likes the software, then it must be good. And so at that point, that was back in August 2023, we decided to turn it into a company. And so, yeah, when we decided to turn it into a company, I mean, I don't know anything. I don't know the first thing about a startup. I don't know, and so this was the experience, right? Like this is how I got the CPO role. Like you kind of roll into a startup and with three people, me, my brother, my dad, and we're just like, we like who's doing what, we're all just kind of doing everything together and slowly but surely start to like iron out like, okay, this you're good at these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, so you're gonna kind of be, this is your role. And so my dad, he's definitely the visionary, and obviously he was going to be CEO. He's the visionary, it was his idea, he developed the prototype. He's CEO. And then my brother, he's very good at uh, um, solving problems, and um, yeah, he's very, very smart. And then like I said, I was the alpha tester, so I have a good understanding of what attorneys need with respect to time entries, I think. Um, my dad, I don't think he ever worked he did work for law firms, but it was decades ago, and so I was the only like true attorney user of the group. And so I did help modify the new version of the software and design it. And so yeah, we decided I'm the chief product officer, but I think we all kind of do far more than what our roles let on. And um, and yeah, it's been a wild ride, we're just kind of flying blind here, but we've been getting green lights seemingly at every turn. It's so yeah, we've only been um, kind of in business for a little over a year, and things are going well. Like I said, I met Matt. He was in the booth right next to us in Chicago at the ABA Tech Show. We had a good time there. It was fun meeting his team, and um, and I mean, there are really no words for the experience of being in a startup. But it's funny that your dad has a process serving company. Like, so that first case that I had, um, the other side pulled a shotgun on our process server.
That's
So if
neat.
you have any questions as to why I'm trying to get out of family law, let's start with that one. That reason right there.
I listen, I couldn't agree more. I've never had a shotgun pulled on me,
Thank
but
God.
my brothers have definitely run into some very, very,
Sketchy situations.
yeah, very sketchy situations. Like, all right, maybe I should just walk away. And my dad's like, yeah, you probably should. You probably should walk away. So I know that more than anything. Like I say, like I tell my brothers and like I tell my dad, we are the grim reapers of the legal industry. So
True.
when we're coming to your door with your papers, it's probably not a good thing. Usually not a good thing. People don't like seeing me. Listen, I'm a nice guy. I'm good looking, but they're like, no, not the papers. Leave the papers in your car, please. But in working at this startup, of course, have to shout out Matt Thielen, absolute legend, really, really legend of the industry. It was amazing to talk to him. I mean, he took Wink, he made it into a publicly traded company. I mean, that was such a fascinating episode. And he's also like, he doesn't exist on the internet as well. I couldn't find anything about him anywhere. So it was great to talk about him, to learn a little bit more about him because I honestly, usually I'm good at finding things about guests, but he was like totally wiped off the internet. I was like, where is this guy?
Well, and also the CEO of Rhetoric. We love them. Gave
Yes,
us a good time.
of course. Always have to shout out Luke Yingling, my
So,
brother. That was my
yeah.
dad right there. So he is also, of course, he's amazing. He's my best friend.
Yeah, he was the one in the booth next to us at ABA Tech Show.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's wonderful stuff. Hopefully, I'm at the ABA Tech show walking around doing something stupid, probably. But now, working in this tech startup, of course, it is a fast-paced environment. As many tech startups do, you have the title, but you wear many hats. You wear many hats.
Yeah.
Now, working in that environment, especially with your family, just on a personal level, how well has it been for like, the relationships with your family members, the fact that you're now even closer and closer together because you're running a company together. Maybe, it might be a little cutthroat sometimes, but how has it been?
It's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot better. We used we used to have a like a weekly leadership meeting on Monday at 10 a.m. And I gotta tell you, I pretty much would block my father every Monday at like 10:15 a.m. And so it's, because I don't know, we've got pretty feisty personalities, I guess. I don't know. We really I think we're all, I don't know. It's definitely, we're just in a rock tumbler, we've been in a rock tumbler, and just working out the kinks. And so we stopped doing the Monday morning leadership meetings. We moved those to Tuesday at 10 a.m. And that saved us a lot of headache. Um, kind of, yeah, you really have to, it's definitely interesting. I saw my dad the other night. I saw my dad last night, and he said, you know what? I think maybe I think we should just not talk about work when and we weren't even talking about work, but but he kind of came up to me and he was like, yeah, you know what? I think when we see each other outside of a Zoom or a Google Meet, we should just not talk about work. And I think, so we can have like a safe space, and so we're learning. and I said this to him last night. I said, I think that's a good idea, but it's hard not to talk about work because we're obsessed with it. I mean, it's so much fun and it's so exciting. And I'm not talking about the legal work. I'm talking about the startup. And, and so it's been brutal. I mean, there were definitely days when, particularly with my brother and I, we work really well together. Sure, we've had some little spats here and there, but we're quick to resolve them and keep moving. And for whatever reason, we definitely butt heads with our father sometimes, and I think that's kind of normal, kids with the parents.
Of course.
And so it was brutal. There were some rough times. And but it's gotten so much better, so much better. And yeah, I'm glad that we kind of stuck it out because it's, I think, allowed us to grow a lot in our personal relationship with one another, for sure. And I mean, there's just no words for the experience. There's just been so many different things that have happened. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy how it's all been kind of flushing out, panning out. And like I said, I guess I didn't say this, but when we first started the company, my dad and my brother have worked together for like 14, 15 years. So they kind of know each other, and like they know their roles, they know their strengths and weaknesses. And so when I came into the company, I had no idea. I mean, I've been working in a law office my entire life, so I know where my place is in the law office, but I've never done anything but that. And so at first it was like really taking me a minute to understand my value, and that was difficult for me in the beginning because I didn't know that I didn't know that I was bringing value, and I didn't like feeling like I was just this like nepo. This was like a nepo job, I don't appreciate that. And so what I've found is that I'm pretty good. I think I'm really organized. Because of the family law, family law has taught me how to keep an eye on a ton of different things at once. I'm pretty organized. And so my brother and my dad are good up here, and I am good at keeping track of all the little tiny details, keeping track of each person that we've made contact with, following up with them, those types of things. And then my brother and I, so we go to these conferences and we make connections with people, and it's fun. It's super fun. Like everybody at these conferences, they're either have usually previously been in the legal field, and so everyone kind of identifies as like a recovering paralegal or a recovering attorney. And I swear to God, it's like we're all survivors from a sinking ship. I'm not kidding. Like we show up to these conferences and everyone is happy and just hopeful and optimistic because we've kind of like found a way out, which that's only been my experience. But like I said, yeah, I'm looking to get out of law, but I wouldn't change my path for anything, because if I didn't become an attorney, then I wouldn't have had the experience to contribute to the design of this software. I wouldn't understand the pain point. And so it was absolutely crucial. And also, again, it's a wonderful education. It's a wonderful career to fall back on.
Law students, are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or short on time in law school? Maybe you just want someone to show you a step-by-step framework to master the topics you're learning in your classes. I know the pressure you're under, and I've got the perfect solution for you. My course, The Law School Operating System, is proven to help you conquer law school with confidence and ease.
Created by Lisa Blasser, a former guest on the podcast and founder of the Law School Success Institute, this course breaks down every subject into manageable main topics that you run through a comprehensive study system to thoroughly prepare you for class and final exams. No more feeling like you need to know everything all at once in the beginning.
But that's not all, Nate. The Law School Operating System also teaches you how to schedule your studying and time effectively. For every topic, you'll know which study step you're on and when you'll complete it every week of your semester. No more mad dash cram sessions, more time with your loved ones. And with my system, you'll walk into your exams knowing you've given 100% of yourself, that there's nothing more you could have done to succeed, and there's no better confidence than that.
Lisa breaks it down like this: one class, one list of main topics, and one system to master each topic. With recorded and live sessions for students available on her website and partnerships with law schools nationwide, the Law School Operating System is here to help you thrive from day one to the final exam. Ready to take control of your law school journey and operate at your full potential in law school? Visit www.lisablasser.com today and enroll in the Law School Operating System. Be sure to use code LSOSNATE10 at checkout for 10% off the recorded course. That is code LSOSNATE10 at checkout. Now, back to the show. Yeah, I would have to agree with all of that. Of course, to the first point you made about not talking about work, my father has actually discovered a loophole that allows him to talk about, because my mother, big on not having phones at the table. She's very big on that, can't have the phone at the table. But my father has discovered a loophole where when one of my brothers will call him about work, he can pick up the phone at the table. I always call him out for it, but it is allowed technically because it is his son. So he's done well there. But as time has went on, less calls from my brothers, hopefully, but they're still coming. Don't worry. But I think it's such an amazing thing. Of course, as for all my guests, great success is on the way for them. Just as your startup company, Tempello, is moving forward, I see big things. I saw you guys were getting awards all over the place. So it's an amazing thing. Sounds like an amazing product, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. But speaking of tech products, Brittany, we're now down to our last 5 questions. The first of the 5 questions is exactly that. It is the tech stack question per se. So, as you know very well, the legal industry is moving in a certain way using AI technologies just like yours and other softwares to improve their efficiency, cut that overhead, do what they can to become more efficient. Like I said, this is the tech stack question. So, what does your tech stack look like? And you could even include Tempello if you really want.
Oh, you mean like what I use?
Yes.
So we use Clio and Tempello for sure. I use Microsoft Teams. So initially we were using Practice Panther. And then the prototype of Tempello was integrated with Practice Panther. And but we found that their API it's not very open. So we moved over to Clio. I've used Clio quite a bit. I used it in law school, at the clinic, and then at another firm that I worked with. So Clio, Tempello is like the main one for me, honestly. And then Microsoft Teams for communications. I have a Google Voice phone number that that's kind of my office number. Trying to think what else. QuickBooks.
That works. Yeah. I mean, listen, if that's all you got, those were amazing suggestions. We got clear.
Now I'm thinking because so we use Loya, which is now Clio Draft for forms, and then there's this other software that will help you draft like prenups and marital settlement agreements. It's called Logic, LAWGIC. And then Westlaw for research. And of course, ChatGPT for everything in between.
Love me some ChatGPT so much. I've been using ChatGPT for almost 5 years now. I'm a pioneer, aren't I? Know.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I've been using it since high school. It's an amazing, amazing tool. Not for school, I promise. Professors out there, I haven't used ChatGPT for absolutely anything on this
Never.
planet. Anything, never, absolutely never.
Scout's honor.
I hope they're not listening. But we're now down to our fourth question, the fourth to last question. Live on the Lawyers in the Making podcast. Brittany Dracup, what are your book recommendations for people? Doesn't have to be about the law, just some of your favorite books you've ever read in your entire life, something you give a gift to someone.
Oh God. Um, well, I started reading 0 to 1.
It's not over here.
You
I
have it?
a whole book review article about 0 to 1, one of my favorite books ever.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Um, To Kill a Mockingbird. It's one of my favorites. Let me think. And then because I'm basic, I've been reading that The Court of Thorns and Roses. I think that's what it's called. It's that like new series that everybody's reading. And then I was reading this book called The Mom Test, and that helps with kind of sales. And then what was that other one? Never Split the Difference.
Mm.
Another sales book.
Well, those are fantastic recommendations. Hopefully, maybe I'll check out Court of Thorns and Roses. Do you think I would be into that?
I don't know if you would be into it. I think it's more of like a girl thing.
Okay, that's fine. Maybe I'll take a look. I get to like
Yeah,
page 20.
check it out.
Maybe it's not for me. Move on to the next book. Of course, as I do, I'm always reading books, eating them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But third to last question here, Brittany, what are the sorts of things you consume, not food, consume on a daily basis? Either that be through social media, so Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Reddit, Facebook. Some people still use Facebook, YouTube. I said YouTube already. Any podcasts that you listen to that you recommend to people? Any Substacks that you read? Any email newsletters you're a part of? What is crossing the transom of Brittany's mind on a daily basis?
I listen to a lot of music. I like to kind of zone out. Um, I am on Instagram pretty frequently. Definitely LinkedIn, TikTok.
I
TikTok.
forgot TikTok. How did I forget TikTok? What is
I'm not sure. I don't know how you
I
forgot
don't know
TikTok.
how. See, I don't have TikTok. That's the thing.
Oh, you don't?
I
What?
don't. But I learned yesterday. My girlfriend was telling me I was like, I need to make a burrito. She's like, look it up on TikTok because I don't know how
TikTok.
to build a burrito, and I learned how to do it on TikTok. So I
Yeah.
re-downloaded it yesterday. So maybe I should keep looking. Oh my God.
Yeah, I like TikTok. TikTok is cool. Um, and I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks. So like Never Split the Difference. I have that on audio. But yeah, a lot of music. Taylor Swift.
Oh,
Basically.
you're a Swiftie, of course. So, speaking of music, I want to know what kinds of music you listen to because I listen to every kind of music on this planet Earth. So, what are some things that are hitting your ears nowadays, other than Taylor Swift? Of course, Taylor Swift is wonderful. She was moving economies earlier last year, so I'd love to hear
Yeah.
that. What other kinds of music are you listening to? Maybe I like it too.
I kind of like house music, upbeat type stuff, kind of hip hop. But yeah, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, just some of the new basic songs.
Listen,
Anything
I heard
anything that
Espresso. I
crosses
thought it
my
was pretty
path.
good.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is a fun song. She makes very fun music.
Yeah.
Puts me in a very fun mood. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. Day's ready to go. Sun's shining. I mean, you're in Southern California, so the sun is shining all the time. Not here in Albany. It was very cloudy today. Couldn't see the sun. I was very, very
Oh,
so sad. Very, very sad. It's all right though. But second to last question here, Brittany. You're working, you got Tempello, you got your own law firm. Well, not our law firm, but you got your own department in the law firm. But what does an ideal Friday night and Sunday morning look for Brittany?
Friday night. I'm kind of laying low on Friday night typically just because I'm tired from the week. So maybe ordering food in or having dinner with a friend, or maybe like my other brother Sean, or and then Sunday morning I'm playing tennis.
Wow. Tennis player yourself. See, I've always wanted to get into tennis. I think I'm pretty
Love
good at it. I think I'm pretty good. It's great for cardio. It's really, those tennis players are really, really in shape. They really are probably the most in
Yeah.
shape athletes on the planet other than soccer players. But then maybe I should ask, if you're laying low on Friday, what are you doing on Saturday night?
This Saturday, actually, this Friday I might be going out. Saturday I might be spending the night at a girlfriend's house because her family, because she's like gonna be home alone. I'm pretty low key for the most part. So
Well,
dinner.
Brittany, there's beauty in simplicity, of course. So I love to hear that. I love to hear those ideal Friday nights and Sunday mornings. But now we're down to our last question, the final question. I ask this at the end of every single episode. But Brittany, what are your words of wisdom for the aspiring law students, the current law students, legal professionals, and pretty much anywhere out there? Because you're looking to move out of the industry. So let's hear those words of wisdom.
Um, I think the words of wisdom are, if you're on the path to become an attorney, keep going. And because it's a great career, and it's gonna take you to good places no matter what. It's a very uh, versatile career. You can do all kinds of things with law. It'll take you to great places.
Of course, as we always say, tagline of this podcast, there is no straight path to law or law school. There's only your unique journey. And it seems your journey, your unique one, is just getting started. So hopefully 5 years down the line, when you're multimillionaire with multi-million-dollar company, as you're being the chief product officer, we may come back to this episode and the journey may get even more unique from there. But for now, that's the episode. That's the podcast. So Brittany, thank you so much for coming on here, spreading your wisdom, spreading your experiences. And for everyone out there listening, thank you for tuning in. Check us out, lawyersofthemaking.substack.com. Lawyers of the Making, one word, substack.com. And I will see you all in the next one.